Hey guys, welcome back to another video. My name is Ian. This is your weekly update, number 2. Very excited about getting into this series. The last video didn't get a ton of views, but I don't really care. It's not for views. I just want to talk about books, and this seems like a good way to do it. I am tentatively calling this series Bookin' It, because I'm like on my way places, so I'm like booking it to work right now, but I'm talking about books. So kind of lame, but kind of fun too, so maybe it'll stick. But anyway, yes, let's talk about the books that I have been reading over the last week. So as I said in my last weekly update, it was a slow start to the month. I struggled to really get into anything. There was just a lot going on, but I had finished one book. Now I finished, I want to say 3 books in the last week, and I've made some pretty significant progress on 2. So let's talk about what I finished in the last week. So first of all, I was reading The Hour I First Believed by Wally Lamb, and I finished that book. It was so good. 5 stars. I am just loving Wally Lamb's writing so much. This is now the second book I've read by him, and the second book that I've given 5 stars to. I am planning on reading all of his books and doing a ranking before his newest book comes out in May, and I'm planning on doing one a month. So in December, I'll read his Christmas book, which I believe is called Wishin' and Hopin', and then from there, I'll probably go chronologically, so I'll circle back to She's Come Undone, and then go through the rest of the ones I haven't read. So that's the plan, but I really enjoyed The Hour I First Believed. I thought it was excellent. I loved the long story. I know this much is true. It's a long book, but it covers only maybe a year or 2, I want to say, of time. This one covers like 12 years. So we really get to see the characters develop and grow through their trauma, through their mistakes, which are plentiful. And we get so much backstory on their ancestors and the generations before them, and how those things kind of impact the things going on in present day with our main character Callum. Really enjoyed it. I did have a couple gripes with it, which I'll get to probably in my ranking video. I'll talk about that more. But it did not keep me from giving it 5 stars. I can still give 5 stars to a book that I loved so much, even if I didn't 100% agree with every decision the author made. So 5 stars for I Know This Much Is True. Very glad to have read this book. Next, I did also finish another book for Jake and Stacey Choose My TBR. That is Sleeping Giants, which is by Sylvain Neuvel, which is one of the shorter ones they selected for me. Just to tell you a little bit about this book, it is a science fiction story in which, at the very beginning, one of the main characters, when she's 11 years old, falls into this like pit or this hole and lands on a gigantic robotic hand, or stone hand. This is just giant hand. And from there, we skip ahead in time to when she's an older, like in late 20s person who is now a scientist who has made it her life work to figure out what is going on with his hand and all that jazz. Things go from there. But I'm not going to tell you how I felt about the book because I don't want to spoil it for the grand reveal in the update for this challenge that we're doing. But I have thoughts on it. I will say that much, and you'll have to just stick around and wait for that video to find out what those are. At some point, it'll come up in a wrap-up as well, probably, and you'll have more thoughts there if you don't want to watch that whole video. But yes, cannot talk about what I felt about this book just yet. Next, though, I did also read Sometimes I Lie by Alice Feeney. Alice Feeney is a mystery thriller author who is quite popular, and she is the next author that I am working toward doing a mystery thriller author ranking on. This is a series I do on my channel. So far, I've done Alex Michaelides, Riley Sager, Lucy Foley, and TJ Newman. I think those are the first 4 that I've done. I have a handful of authors planned for 2024. I thought about, or 2025 I should say, I thought about trying to do 1 a month, but that just feels like a little bit too much. So I think I'm going to try to do 1 mystery thriller author ranking every other month. And then I might fill in some rankings of authors that I've just already read all of their works. So that's the plan, but Alice Feeney is the one that I'm aiming to do next. I have quite a few books to read because I've only read 2 of her books so far, but I have an e-arc of her new book, Beautiful Lies, that comes out in January. So the goal is to have her entire backlog read by that release date so I can put out my ranking video. So stay tuned for that. But just to tell you a little bit about my thoughts on Sometimes I Lie, this is her debut novel, and it's definitely interesting. I can see why this book kind of compelled her into stardom, at least in the mystery thriller genre it goes. This book is really compelling. So we have a main character who's in a coma, and at the start of the book she says, I will tell you 3 things or something like that, and it's 1, I'm in a coma, 2, my husband doesn't love me anymore, and 3, sometimes I lie. So that's a really interesting setup. And things go from there. We have like the present timeline where she's in a coma, but she can still hear everything that's going on. And then the past timeline that is kind of delving into what led to her being in this coma. And there's also some journal entries that come into play from further in the past as well. There are a lot of things going on with this thriller, and I did appreciate that, the way that there were kind of multiple mysteries kind of guiding us through the story. It wasn't just why is she in a coma, it's also a lot of other stuff. I wasn't 100% compelled by this book. I took a while to get into it after like the initial, okay, this is a really cool idea. So overall, I wouldn't give it 5 stars by any means. It's probably like a 3.5 to a 4 star, but it was still a really solid thriller. And I'm very excited to read more of Alice Feeney's books for this challenge. Okay, so now let's go ahead and talk about the books that I am currently reading. So I did make quite a bit of progress on Green Teeth by Molly O'Neill, which is an upcoming release from Orbit. Comes out, I want to say, in February. I think February 25th is the release date for that one. And I'm loving this book so much. I'm about 60% of the way through, so I read about 40% in the last week. And it's a blast. Like I said, it is a cozy feeling fantasy, but not really a cozy fantasy. It just feels so comforting. You've got some great found family here, some great character relationships, an unexpected protagonist, and a quest that comes about. It kind of reminds me of like Percy Jackson and the Olympians in some way, only that you have 3 characters in the end who are totally different, great characters all on their own, but they have different backgrounds and stories, and they come together to go on this quest. And I love that. It's such a good vibe. So really loving Green Teeth by Molly O'Neill. I'll finish that this week for sure. And then the other one that I'm currently reading is The Shining by Stephen King. So good. This is a reread for me, so obviously I'm enjoying myself with it. I'll probably finish this today. If not today, then tomorrow for sure. I'm over halfway through now, and it is a reread, so I'm going pretty quick. But originally, this book was not in my top 10 Stephen King books before starting this, but I think it might be now, depending upon how I feel about the rest of this book. But I'm loving it. So good. Join us in the Bookish Drummer Discord reading this book, and then Dr. Sleep next month for the Stephen King Book Club. I gotta get inside my garage. 1 second. My parking garage, I should say, for work. Yeah. So, those are the 2 books that I'm currently actively reading. As far as what I think I'm going to read next, I'm thinking probably Blood Song by Anthony Ryan, which is one of Stacy's picks for me to read for this round of Jake and Stacy Choose My TBR. After that, I'll probably put a pause on the final 2 books. Maybe I'll only have 1 each left to read from them, but we'll see what happens. I don't know how the lighting is going to go now that I'm in a garage, but whatever. Yeah, so I'll probably pick that up. If not that, I may go ahead and jump into another Alice Feeney book, just because I have a lot of those to get through. And yeah, so those are probably the books I'm going to pick up. After I finish Green Teeth, I don't know what arc I'm going to pick up. I've got a few options. I'm not really putting any pressure on myself, though. Actually, I'm probably going to start reading Cutting for Stone by Abraham Verghese, because it's one I want to read this year, and I do want to read it, not listen to it. So I've got to get started on that if I'm going to finish it this year, because it is quite long. But that's all for this video. I'm going to turn on some lights here. Yeah, that's all for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what your thoughts are on all these books that I'm reading. Yeah, would love to hear your thoughts on those. And let me know what you're currently reading and if you're enjoying it. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye!